Teenager gains power that quickly becomes too much for him to handle.
What would you do if you woke up one day and suddenly had godlike powers?
I'd be wrecking some shit. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Yo, y'all be done. I'm letting y'all know that now. Hey, I'm live on Twitch every single Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Link is in the description. I better see you there.
You wouldn't end up like this guy. We start off in the year 1988 over the peaceful city of Tokyo. Well, that can't be good. Nothing remains of the city except a giant crater. We then flash forward 31 years to the present day. Tokyo has been rebuilt on a massive artificial island in Tokyo Bay and given a brand new name, Neo Tokyo.
Okay.
Creative. Inside a dingy bar, we meet the leader of a youth biker gang.
What the hell is happening? Is this legal right here?
Known as the Capsules.
Is that legal?
Shotaro Kaneda. He's picking out music on a jukebox when one of his members,
Jukeboxes, bro, those are so
he tells
old.
him that a rival biker gang known as the Clowns is in their area, and they make their way out. Outside, Tetsuo Shima is on a high-tech motorbike, fangirling
That
over
shit
the
kinda look
specs.
cool.
Kaneda comes over and tells him that his bike has been custom built specifically for himself, and he wouldn't be able to handle it. Tetsuo grudgingly thinks he could. They drive off in search of the rival gang. It doesn't take long before they find them. Kaneda plays a game of chicken with this dude, which he wins, and the other dude falls off before they find them. Kaneda plays a game of chicken with this dude.
Is this really what we looking like in anime in the 80s, bro? It is the 80s. Oh my god, please have no more black people in here. I know it's gonna be disrespectful. Please don't have no more.
Which he wins, and the other dude falls off his bike. We then get the iconic slide. They hear police sirens, and the rival gang drives off. Elsewhere, a man is walking through the city, dragging a strange-looking child behind him. He makes his way into traffic that is gridlocked when two police dogs attack him. He takes care of them and makes his way into the alley. Then, he accidentally walks into an area that has been blocked off him. He takes care of them and makes his way into the alley. Then,
that is not no little boy. That is a grown-ass dwarf. Okay? That's not a little boy.
Accidentally walks into an area that has been blocked off due to protests. A spotlight shines on him, and the police tell him that this area is off limits. We now see that the man is bleeding quite heavily. He tries to make a run for it, shooting at the spotlight in the process.
Oh my god!
This causes the police to return fire. They light him up, before being told to hold their fire, as he has a kid with him. He tells the child to run and find someone called Ryu.
That's not a child!
He tries to distract the police and buy the kid some time by aiming his gun at them. As the police fire back, the kid watches on with horror and... The kid. I'm not gonna lie though, one gun. Look at how they're blasting him, this man with one gun, looking like this. Look at how they blast him. They are blasting his ass! Kid watches on with horror and screams. As he screams, the lights and glass in the surrounding buildings explode. During all the chaos, the child vanishes. Meanwhile, the Capsules chase the rival gang into a tunnel, when one of them throws a Molotov cocktail behind themselves to try and slow the pursuit. Kaneda slows to a stop, but Tetsuo continues the chase alone. As Tetsuo keeps up with them, one of the rival members slows to a stop, but Tetsuo continues the chase alone.
Tetsuo, you need to tee up with this. I don't know what the hell this is, bro, but you need to fix that, because that is nasty.
Tetsuo keeps up with them. One of the rival members takes a wrong turn. And the other one, after looking back at Tetsuo to see if he was still chasing, falls off his bike after crashing into debris. Completely fine with hitting a guy when he's down, Tetsuo whacks him. As he taunts the guy, the kid from earlier appears in the middle of the road. Tetsuo doesn't have enough time to slam on the brakes, and just when he's about to hit the kid puts his hands out and the bike explodes. Why do he have 26
on his hand?
The child is completely unharmed, but looks horrified at what he's done. Just then, Kaneda and the rest show up to try and help Tetsuo. The kid is walking away when Kaneda calls out to him. As he does so, beams of light shine down from above, revealing army helicopters surrounding them. The kid tries to run away from them when he hears a voice in his head, telling him that there's no escape. Another weirdly old-looking child floats down in a chair.
Why does he keep saying child? No, they're not children.
He tells him that he can't survive on the outside for very long, and he knows that. They can only survive at home.
Well, come along.
Oh. That's why you're saying child. Oh. Okay.
The army helicopters touch down and soldiers pour out. They aim their guns at the group and tell them to get on the ground. They reluctantly comply. The military leader of Neo Tokyo, Colonel Shikishima, walks out of the helicopter and over to the two strange kids, telling them that they're all going back to the base now. The soldiers haul Tetsuo back onto the helicopter.
No!
Seeing this,
no! My Alfredo! No! No!
this, Kaneda tries to tell them that they can't do that, and receives a hit in the stomach for his troubles. Afterwards, the gang is taken to a local police station, where they tell the police they went out to see Kaneda's dying mother. Then, the rival gang picked a fight with them. They hurt his friend, he lost his temper, and that's why 8 members of the clown gang are now in hospital. That sounds completely reasonable. The police somehow buy this, and they're told to wait outside. When Kaneda sees someone he thinks is looking fine, the officer comes out and tells him to died. When Kaneda sees someone he thinks is looking fine.
Really? There's no way he's serious. There's no way. Looking fine. Come on, bro.
The officer comes out and tells them that they're free to go. Kaneda tells the officer that there was someone else with them. He goes and gets the girl he saw earlier and brings her to the front. Then says she's a part of their group and asks if she can leave with them. Smooth moves, my guy. As they're all walking out together, Kaneda asks her out for drinks. She thinks he's just a womanizer and is only helping her out as a method to get into her pants. He says she's wrong and that he's actually got very high standards.
Yeah, you have high standards? Hold on, we just got fed a whole bunch of lies.
She says she owes him one before dipping out. Elsewhere, inside a medical research building, Tetsuo is put into a very strange machine. The colonel walks in and is ushered by Dr. Onishi into one of his rooms. The doctor explains to the colonel that he's getting a very special psychic pattern from the boy. He says that he's never seen any sort of accelerated psychic growth like this before. He thinks the catalyst must have been the psychic contact with the kid from his bike accident the day prior. This contact must have in some way awakened his latent abilities. The colonel asks if there's any chance the boy could turn out to have power like Akira, and if he did, would they be able to control it this time? The doctor says if they take it slow and do proper analysis as they go,
who's
surely
Akira?
they could handle it. The colonel says if at any point his powers start to get out of hand, they must terminate him. Inside the machine, Tetsuo
is that the little boy? Okay, so the little boy gotta be Akira. Because Tatsumi or whatever is the guy with the big ass forehead. Big ass forehead is Akira, but they said Tatsumi's the one with the big forehead. I'm confused.
Akira being said to him. Later, a nurse is seen bringing food into Tetsuo's room. She walks in, finding it completely empty. Elsewhere, Tetsuo's love interest Kaori is doing her laundry. As she walks out, the door at the end of the corridor opens, revealing a hospital gown wearing
he just, oh my god, he's so ugly, bro. I'm getting pissed. I'm getting mad. Like I'm getting infuriated with how ugly this man is.
Tetsuo. Outside, as they're eating, he tells her that when he was in there, it felt like they were messing around with his head. He doesn't want to go back. He says they should run away together, somewhere
She
far
looked like
away.
a caveman.
The next day at their school, Kaisuke tells Kaneda that someone is stealing his bike. They all race up to the window, where we see that the thief is Tetsuo, with Kaori on the back seat. As they're driving, they happen to go through the clown gang's territory. They continue on, but
he's really robbing a gang with a caveman,
because
bro.
Tetsuo doesn't know how the bike works, he fails to keep it above 5,000 RPM and it stalls. After they stop, Kaori gets off and notices some bikers behind them. One of them clotheslines Kaori, and when Tetsuo checks to see if she's alright, another hits him in the back of the head with a pipe. They assault Kaori and pin Tetsuo to the ground. They're about to burn out Kaneda's bike when the capsules find them. 2 of them bounce, but one of them goes the wrong way, getting knocked off to burn out, another hits him in the back of the head with a pipe. They assault Kaori. And pin
wow. Okay.
Tetsuo to the ground. They're about to burn out Kaneda's bike when the capsules find them. 2 of them bounce, but one of them goes the wrong way, getting knocked off his bike by Kaneda. A short time later, Kaori awakens and sees Tetsuo, beating the crap out of one of the bikers. Kaneda tells him to knock it off, saying that if he keeps going, he'll kill the guy. Then says this whole thing only happened because he took his bike for a joyride. Tetsuo tells Kaneda to stop ordering him around, that he is frustrated and sick of the fact that he always comes to try and save him. Tetsuo starts to storm off when a brutal headache hits him.
He said he's pissed off. I'm always mad that you come and try to save me. Your girl was getting assaulted. And guess what you were doing? Getting your ass beat. What are we talking about right here?
He again hears the name Akira, followed by visceral images in his head. He shouts out that he doesn't know who that is before falling to the ground, with more horrible visions plaguing him. We see that the army is watching him nearby. The head doctor orders his retrieval. They pull up and rush over to him, injecting something into his arm. They begin to hold Tetsuo off, and Kaneda tries to run over to him, getting knocked to the ground by one of the military guards. The army truck drives off. Later that night, as they're all hanging out, an explosion goes off nearby, causing panic. People start running out of the affected zone when Kaneda notices the girl from the police station earlier running away too. He runs after her. When Kaneda notices the girl from the police station earlier running away too.
If she didn't have eyeliner on, chat, I'm not gonna lie to you. If she did not have eyeliner I don't know, bro.
He runs after her, leaving his friends behind. He tracks her down to the sewers of the city, where she is spotted by police patrolling the area. She fires at one of the officers and they begin trading shots. She tries to make a break for it, but the man has her dead to rights.
Oh, this woman's
telling
a
her to drop her
thug.
gun. Another officer starts to close in too, when Kaneda runs down from above, charging into the officer, knocking them both into horrible poop water.
I know you're not assaulting officers over some woman you've known less than 5 minutes. What's wrong with men, bro?
The other officer that was coming around aims at Kaneda when she shoots the man, killing him. Kaneda runs up to her and says they need to get out of here, now. Elsewhere, we see the colonel is in an unknown facility. He puts on a massive coat and goes down an elevator deep underground. They reach the bottom level and are in freezing temperatures. The colonel makes his way towards a giant door and tells one of his men to open it. The door begins to open, breaking off ice in the process. They step inside, revealing a giant cryogenically frozen chamber. Tubes are running into a giant metal construct with a plaque stating Akira.
Ooh, Akira. Okay,
Meanwhile,
so that's
we learn the name of the
Akira.
girl Kaneda has been simping for. It's Kei. She's opening doors trying to find someone called Ryu, while Kaneda is trying to convince her to turn herself in over killing the man earlier. He says he'll go
What?
to the station with her, and when she gets out of prison after doing her time, they can go and get dinner. They hear
You think she's just gonna get out after killing someone? This man's just a dumbass.
footsteps coming up behind them when 3 men come around the corner, 2 of them pulling out the blicky. Kei runs over to a man who we find out is named Ryu. He asks who Kaneda is, who very poorly tries to talk his way out of it, saying,
I guess by saying I'm Kay's boyfriend, it's stretching it a bit.
they think he's a spy, which he denies before falling back through a door, getting locked inside.
And
In
she
another
gonna let
room,
him be
they're
locked
talking
in
about a
too.
new mission they've been given, to sneak into the military's lab and gather data
gonna
about
let
a new
him be
test
locked in
subject
there
they've
too.
acquired. They hear a crash coming from one of the vents, and we see Kaneda having just banged his head on something. They pull him out of the vents.
Should I kill him?
He desperately explains that the person they are talking about is a friend of his. He was there when the military took him. They all decide on letting him come. Besides, he can be a good decoy if nothing else. Sometime
See, look, and then he put all this faith into this woman for some strange ass reason. Now he's a decoy. Now his life is on the line. Cause you wanted some cooch.
later,
Okay,
they disguise
bro.
themselves as workers and enter the facility. Elsewhere, inside Tetsuo's room in the hospital, he begins to have hallucinations of these funny little characters. Aw, they're so cute.
Tom
You
and
know,
Jerry.
I think I take it back.
That's not cute no more.
Not cute. These giant toy characters so cute. You know, I think I take it back.
What was
Not
that
cute.
bear leaking?
Not cute.
What is this bear leaking, bro? Like, there's not that many substances that look like this. What else am I supposed to assume it is? Why?
These giant toy characters then attack Tetsuo, attempting to kill him by messing with his perception
What
of
is
reality.
Bugs doing
As he's
here?
running from them, he steps on a glass cup that fell to the ground, shattering pieces of it into his foot. As blood gushes out, the giant toys recoil in fear and start to disintegrate, revealing the ones that have been controlling them the entire time. He begins to understand that he has some sort of power, and breaks out of his room. As he is outside, some guards and a doctor find him, and try to get him into another room. Tetsuo, fueled by seeking revenge, and not being sure what reality is anymore, has different plans.
This man
Meanwhile,
like
the
Jimmy
group is making its
Neutron in
way
the
into
head.
sewers of the facility. As they're walking through the doo-doo water, a small aerial patrol vehicle
That's crazy because Jimmy Neutron's not ugly as fuck with a big ass forehead, so why is he? They wanted him to be ugly. I'm sorry. It's just so. I'm about to cry. Like his ugliness legitimately makes me sad.
spots them. A violent shootout starts, where one of their members gets laid out. As it turns back around for another pass-by, the pilot calls out for backup. Kei grabs the gun from the dead member and shoots up at it, disabling its steering, causing it to crash into a wall and explode. As another vehicle shows up, Kaneda jumps on it mid-air, causing it to crash into the water, where he manages to gain control of it and shoot at the third vehicle coming through. He starts driving it and grabs Kei, forcing her to come with him. As they're flying through the air, they hear on the radio that Tetsuo has broken out of his room and is heading for an area called the baby's room. We cut to the military forces trying their best to subdue Tetsuo, albeit unsuccessfully. Eventually, he breaks into
I have a feeling that it's gonna end with Tetsuo dying, even though he got thrown into the situation unwillingly. I just have a feeling that's gonna be the end. And it's gonna piss me off.
the baby's room, finding his earlier attackers
That's what
inside.
anime be
As his
doing, bro.
powers are growing rapidly, he easily deals with the aged children, knocking them back. One of them uses their psychic abilities, flinging him back into the wall, trying to kill him.
This is
After
just
this, they
mind
flee into a room
warfare.
further back. What would have usually killed a normal man barely hurts Tetsuo. He pursues them into the room. Elsewhere, Kaneda begins to get instructions on where to go from Kei, who is being telepathically controlled by one of the female children. Tetsuo finds and confronts them now that they're all together. We find out that the child in the chair is named Masaru. The one inside the glass is Kyoko, and the
Okay.
other is Takashi. Takashi and Masaru decide that together they might stand a chance and attack Tetsuo. They begin to have a psychic battle when the colonel and doctor shows up.
Them niggas having a battle, and all the battle is them doing this. Yeah! 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 Like, that is so crazy. That's why he needs that big ass head. I understand now.
Telling them to stop it. The doctor comes forward, telling Tetsuo his power isn't fully matured yet. If he pushes himself too far, he might do irreparable damage to himself. Kyoko begins to telepathically communicate with Tetsuo, telling him about someone even more powerful than he is. That someone is Akira. Tetsuo says that's him. That's the one that's been invading his head and giving him visions. He demands to know where Akira is, attacking them. The children try to escape, but Tetsuo's power is growing to a level where the entire building is starting to fall apart.
So Akira's in his
and
head.
they get knocked to the ground by the debris of the collapsing room.
Watch this all just be a case of schizophrenia. None of this shit's real. It's just schizophrenia.
Pleased with himself, Tetsuo makes his way down to them, destroying the floor they're lying on. As he does so, Kaneda enters the room on his aerial vehicle, where he crashes into the upending floor, causing him and Kei to fall off, and the vehicle to crash into a wall, exploding. Tetsuo is surprised to see Kaneda and asks him why he's here. Kaneda happily asks if he's okay, then says he's here to rescue him, telling him they need to hurry up and get a move on before the soldiers show up. As the soldiers do show up, Tetsuo uses his powers to destroy the ground beneath them, going as far as to knock Kaneda aside.
Yeah, they're killing this man off in the end because he's too powerful. That's what they're gonna be. He's too powerful, even though we kind of caused him to be like this by forcing him into a lab and making him be a lab rat and yada yada. Like, that's how anime be, bro. It'd be fucking stupid.
As well. Tetsuo begins to laugh, saying he forgot Kaneda was even there. He smugly tells him that it's okay now, as he won't be needing him to come to the rescue ever again.
And now he's going
on,
crazy.
He'll be the one in charge of the heroics.
Great.
Kaneda, sick of being talked down to like this, gets up and asks him who the hell he thinks he's talking to. When Tetsuo asks, what do you think you can do about it now? Before breaking apart the ground he is standing on,
he's the bad
sending it
guy.
flying upwards towards the ceiling.
Fantastic.
As he's enjoying his newfound powers,
Fantastic.
Kyoko tells
He's
him
the
that that's
bad guy.
enough and to stop hurting people. Tetsuo demands to know where this Akira is, but she won't tell him. When he reads her mind, finding out that he's in an underground facility at the Olympic Stadium.
And he's a mind reader too. Fantastic. The nigga broken. He's overpowered.
A red outline envelops him and he blasts out of the entire
Who's the main
building.
character? I thought
Outside,
he was.
realizes due to his growing powers, he can now fly. Back inside, the doctor exclaims that he has developed so much power in such a short amount of time that it's incredible. Sometime later, Tetsuo makes his way into the dingy bar that they were in at the start. Tetsuo sits down. The barkeeper asks,
"Weren't you in an accident? Your friends have been really worried."
Tetsuo ignores the question, instead asking him for a drug known as a capsule. Hey, that must be what they named their biker gang after. The barkeeper explains that he can get them for him, but with all the terrorist attacks and police blockades going on, they're getting to be pretty pricey lately. We cut to outside. We see Yamagata and Kaisuke walking down the stairs into the bar. They're talking about how they don't know where Kaneda and Tetsuo have run off to, and with all the police checkpoints being so strict that they can't even ride, it's like the team is finished. They walk into the bar, finding it completely trashed. Kaisuke runs over behind the bar.
Did he really just trash it for no reason?
Dead. They're freaked out and wondering what could have happened when they start to hear laughing coming from above. They look up and see Tetsuo, who asks if they want to pop some pills too. Yamagata tells him to start making sense and tell them what happened here and why is the owner dead.
A fish out of water dies, huh?
I don't really think that answer helps here. Tetsuo...
Okay. A fish out of water dies, huh? Yes, nigga. Now, why is he dead? He's not a fish. He's in his bar. So you're not making sense, man. You're not making any sense.
Tetsuo then goes on to tell them
Nigga's a
that all they're
yapper.
good for now is showing him where Kaneda's bike is. They don't, and Yamagata tries to get up to Tetsuo. Tetsuo then knocks him down onto the ground before jumping down on top of him. Yeah, that is a face you do not want to see. Elsewhere, we see Kaneda and Kei inside a jail cell. Kaneda asks her what the deal with this Akira is. Why is everybody after him? She explains that what she's heard is that Akira is absolute energy. It's a bit confusing, but she explains that the energy for consciousness and knowledge that all living things share must come from somewhere. She says that since we humans evolved from
Akira's
apes,
God.
and before that reptiles and fish, even before that we were plankton and amoeba. But what if something went wrong across that progression line, and an amoeba was suddenly given the higher power of a human? It would still only have the basic mind of a microbe, only wanting to consume everything around it, but to all other amoeba, it would be considered a god. She likens this to Tetsuo and Akira, having gained powers to such a level which humans were never meant to have. Suddenly, the doors to their cell unlocks, and they cautiously make their way out, when we see a view from above, and can hear the three children talking about how their only option now is to use K. Meanwhile, we can see that martial law has been placed on the city. We cut to a group of police outside of the dingy bar, bringing a body out. They're saying it's almost certainly the work of the escaped subject. We see Kaisuke watching nearby, nearby when he hears footsteps behind him. Turning around, he sees Kaneda and Kai running past, and he calls out to them. We cut to early morning. Kaisuke is explaining
the T-word or whatever his name is kill the two friends?
that Yamagata was killed by Tetsuo, who seemed like a completely different person. After this, Kaisuke brings Yamagata's bike over to Kaneda, asking him what he's gonna do.
I'm gonna go send Yamagata his wheels.
He drives the bike at high speed into a wall, jumping off before making impact, letting it explode. As he walks away, he hears Kei scream. As he races over to her, he sees Takashi
Why did that happen? Did his friend die, so he blew up the bike, so the bike died with him? Sure.
approaching Kei. He says to Takashi that he was the one they saw on the night of Tetsuo's accident, when Kei, inspired by Jesus, begins walking on water over to him. As they walk away together, they vanish. Kaneda hears Kyoko's voice, telling him that the thing about Akira's power is that it exists dormant within everyone, but when it awakens, it's important to wisely choose how you will use it. She says,
oh, so nigga, you're telling me if I meditate hard enough, I have the power of Akira? Bet! A nigga like me, that means I'm sitting like this at all times. I'm not moving. if that's what it is. MF, no, you're black.
Tetsuo has already made his choice, but they are partly to blame for his actions now. They took Kei in hopes that she'll be able to help them in some way. Meanwhile, we can see a massive roadblock has been set up in the city, with tanks at the front. When a helicopter flies by and crashes into a building, the tanks all take their battle stations. We see Tetsuo rise from the flames of the explosion. He walks over to a store and gets himself dripped up by making a Kei.
I knew they wouldn't make a hero be so ugly. I knew, so he had to be a bad guy, because they wouldn't make no main protagonist who's a good guy this unbearable to look at.
Out of some fabric. The soldiers in one of the tanks receives orders to attack Tetsuo. He doesn't want to because he's just a kid, but reluctantly accepts the order. He fires, but the tank shell slows to a stop in front of Tetsuo before exploding, much to their shock. They try to fire again, and we can see that the button isn't working.
This nigga an
Tetsuo then
airbender?
uses his powers to crush the tank, causing it to explode. Tetsuo continues to rampage through Neo-Tokyo, destroying every military checkpoint that is set up
So
in
it's
his
like
way.
what happened 31 years ago.
Actually,
So Akira must have been the one who had made the thing happen 31 years ago, or this guy's father or someone like that.
his way to the Olympic Stadium, where Akira is kept. He makes his way down into the cryogenically frozen chamber, where he sees Kei. She tells him that he shouldn't be using his power in this way, and that in the end, he won't be able to control it. It will control him. He realizes that it's the kids talking through and controlling Kei, who again try to kill him. Elsewhere, Kaneda is making his way over to the Olympic Stadium, where he sees the devastation that Tetsuo has left in his rampage. He does find an experimental laser gun.
How is this man still
The ground
alive?
around the Olympic Stadium begins to fall in on itself.
Oh my
The cryogenic
God.
chamber that holds Akira
Look at this
the
one
ground
dude,
around the
bro.
Olympic Stadium begins to
It's tragic for these people, bro. It's tragic. Look at him. He going out with his legs spread, booty up. Oh my Lord. He has demons licking his booty hole when he dies. That's a sad death.
The cryogenic chamber that holds
Wait, but one dude, hold on. One dude parkouring like crazy. Hey, hold on. Let's keep our eyes on one of these guys. Keep your eye on this guy right here. Cause this guy, he not trying to die. Look at him. And he jumping on bricks and shit. He's still up. I think he lived. I think he's still alive.
The cryogenic chamber that holds Akira is brought to the surface. Atop the giant construct, Kei and Tetsuo begin to battle it out. As they clash, psychic sparks fly off of them and crash into nearby objects and buildings, exploding. Tetsuo wins the battle, sending Kei flying into the ground.
They
The damage
asked, how many explosions do you want in this anime? Niggas said yes, because there's just explosions everywhere.
Their battle has destroyed the outside of the cryo chamber, leaving behind nothing but a small sphere. Tetsuo opens it up. Instead of finding a person, he finds a bunch of canisters.
What the hell is this?
We hear the colonel over loudspeakers, telling him that that is Akira before him. He explains that after his transcendental awakening, which led to the destruction of Tokyo 31 years earlier, Akira's organs and tissues were subject to every single scientific test possible, and what he sees before him now is all that remains. Sometime later, Tetsuo has arranged all of the canisters to be placed around him, when Kaneda walks up, holding the laser gun he found. They have a brief chat, with Tetsuo saying how Kaneda has always been telling him what to do ever since they were little kids. He would always just show up and start bossing him around.
And now you're a boss too. Of this pile of rubble.
Tetsuo becomes angry, and Kaneda shoots his gun at him, which he blocks with his powers, but he falls backwards down the rubble. Kaneda runs over to fire a second shot, but Tetsuo manages to dodge it. Tetsuo begins to toy with Kaneda by picking him and everything around him up into the air, causing Kaneda to let off a panicked shot, which actually manages to damage Tetsuo.
Yeah.
Kaneda begins to hide when he sees Kei, and does the not-so-smart thing of calling out to her, giving away.
He's a simp till the death of him. He's a simp till the death of him. All he does is think about Coach.
His position to Tetsuo, who blows up where he was hiding. Kaneda then fires a shot through the wall, which hits in front of Tetsuo, blowing up a bunch of dust. As Tetsuo clears it, he sees Kaneda with a mean angle on him, who takes the shot, landing clean on Tetsuo's stomach. To both of their shock, it does not do much damage.
What?
Kaneda fires a second shot, which fizzles out. Turns out the battery for the gun is dead.
Wow.
Kaneda throws it on the ground, telling Tetsuo it's not fair, and he needs to fight with his bare hands. Tetsuo begins to mock him, asking if he understands how it feels to be weak and helpless now. When particles of light begin to envelop Tetsuo, he wonders where this light is coming from, and we cut to a high view and can see that the light is focusing onto a singular point, right where Tetsuo is. Back closer up, and we see the skin on his arm begin
aliens?
to melt off, before a massive explosion rocks the area. We cut to the Colonel, who asks if
Aliens?
they're on target. Turns out, he had authorized the use of a high-tech orbital laser strike onto Tetsuo, and
Do those exist? Do we have laser strikes in space? We probably do, bro. We probably do. You know what I'm saying? All those laser strikes just prepared for North Korea to do something crazy. We have a laser strike on standby.
and is preparing for a second shot. In the aftermath, Tetsuo uncovers himself from the rubble and realizes, to
He's
his
still
shock,
alive?
that his damaged arm has been completely disintegrated by the laser.
Damn!
Up above, Kaneda is trying to finish him off by dropping a rock onto him. The dude just survived a giant off laser. I don't think a rock will hurt him at this stage.
He survived the laser too, because he was right beside him. How is he not dead? Plot armor.
When the laser again begins to light up the area, this time, Tetsuo forms a shield around himself and Kaneda, protecting them from the brunt of the attack. Tetsuo
Aw, that's W friendship, man. W friend. You would what?
flies up after the beam, making his way into space, where he proceeds to find and destroy the SOL spacecraft by bringing it down into the planet's atmosphere. At sunset, we see chunks of burning
How the Okay, sure. Obviously, duh. Yep, makes sense.
spacecraft rain down over Neo-Tokyo. We cut to Tetsuo, making himself a brand new arm out of scrap metal and junk from the rubble. Elsewhere, we see the Doctor observing the psychic patterns of Akira overlaid with Tetsuo's. They appear to be virtually the same. Sometime later, we cut to the Olympic Stadium and can see Kaori walking up the stairs. When she reaches the top, she can see a throne with the samples of Akira behind it. She then hears Tetsuo crying out in pain and rushes over to help him. Meanwhile, we can see the Colonel entering the stadium at the same time. He had found out that the Doctor was hiding how similar the psychic patterns between Akira and Tetsuo are, and is worried that another disaster like what happened 31 years ago will occur. Kaori
Isn't
helps him
it already happening? Like, what do you mean? Are we worried? Like, it's literally already
to
happening.
the throne when she notices his arm and is shook by it. He says it doesn't look like much, but it still gets the job done. He again starts to cry out in pain when cables begin to shoot out of his arm and embed into the chair. The Colonel shows up
Okay, no, I hear
again,
you.
starts to cry out in pain.
Girl, why are you acting like your boyfriend didn't commit like the masses of murders, the masses of genocides? Why are you still caring about this nigga? Your parents are probably dead because of him. I hate people like this, bro.
When cables begin to shoot out of his arm and embed into the chair. The Colonel shows up, asking Tetsuo if he's in pain. Tetsuo tells him to go back to the lab and get some more of that medicine for him. When the Doctor begins to tell the Colonel through an earpiece that it looks like his psychic powers that have been held back by the drugs are finally starting to break through. And if that happens, he may not be able to control the powers that awaken so suddenly. The Colonel insists that Tetsuo comes back to the lab and receive proper treatment. If he doesn't, he may die. Tetsuo mocks the idea, saying he would just become shriveled up like those kids, before launching the Colonel back. He begins to walk towards Kaori, begging her to get that medicine for him, when the Colonel shoots him in the arm, sending him flying back several feet. As he
No, that's a strong ass gun. That shit was strong as hell.
tries to get up, we see his arm flop down, now comprised of disfigured flesh and metal. He launches his arm at the Colonel, which immediately spreads over his entire body, enveloping it. When a light beam shoots through the arm, causing it to retract back into Tetsuo. We see Kaneda, this time with two
How is
batteries
he
down
still
below. He fires
alive?
another shot. When Tetsuo jumps up and slams down next to him, Kaneda drives away from the crumbling area
There's
and
no
comes
way
to a
his
stop
man's
when he
still
can see that rubble is
alive.
about to fall down on top of him. However, it lands perfectly around him instead. And we see Takashi, who has
I was about to say that looked like BS. That was landing right on him.
protected him float down nearby. Then, we see Kyoko and Masaru make their way over to the remains of Akira. Takashi joins them. Tetsuo tells them that they must not have learned their lesson by now, and is about to attack them, when Kaneda distracts Tetsuo and shoots him in the arm. Tetsuo begins writhing in pain on the ground, when suddenly, distracts Tetsuo and shoots him in the arm. Tetsuo begins writhing
Looking like me on Tuesday nights right here. Yep, booty up, mouth open, scream.
on the ground, when suddenly, due to his growing power no longer being able to be contained, what happened earlier just to his arm begins to happen to his entire body, and he starts growing to grotesque proportions.
Oh my lord.
When I first saw this part of the movie, I was about 8. I had nightmares for weeks. With his body now growing with a mind of its own, it pulls Kaori into himself, and due to the collapse
Nico Avocado! 2 weeks later, he goes on my 600-pound life.
grounds, Kaneda is launched into him also. Tetsuo begs Kaneda for help, saying he can feel that he's crushing Kaori and he can't stop his body. Kaneda manages to pull his gun free and shoot his way out. He, however, couldn't do it in time to save Kaori. As the massive flesh spreads towards the children, they pay it no mind. Then, the jars with Akira's remains in them explode open. From this, a light begins to emanate, and we see the young boy, Akira, for the first time.
That's who we were waiting on.
Open. From this, a light begins to emanate, and we see the young boy.
This is who we were waiting on. I turned the movie off so fast. Oh my god, I would hit it with a 1-star and turn it off so fast. This?
For the first time, a blinding sphere of light begins to grow from him, similar to the one we saw at the start of the movie. The Colonel is saved by Kyoko and teleported far enough away from the sphere. It begins to consume Tetsuo, who calls out to Kaneda for help. Kaneda, being the bro that he is, tells him to hang on and tries to
This nigga, he's a mass murderer. Why are we treating him like he's a good guy?
Help him before getting pulled in by Tetsuo. Takashi is about to go in after him when Kyoko and Masaru warn him that if he goes in, he'll be trapped too. Takashi says that none of this is his fault and goes in after Kaneda. Kyoko and Masaru decide that even though they won't be strong enough to come back out, if they all try together, they may be able to save Kaneda. Inside the sphere, Kaneda sees the memories of Tetsuo, being taught how to properly ride a bike for the first time.
Is Kaneda the main character? Because that's what it sounds like. I guess
time by him. Then, an even earlier memory of when they first met. Tetsuo had been bullied on his first day at school and had his Gundam action figure stolen, so Kaneda went and got it back for him, getting beaten up in the process. He also sees the memories of Akira and all of the children when they were test subjects early on in their life. On the outside, the sphere of light is continuing to grow, and the readings that the Doctor is receiving indicate that this is the birth of a new universe. Back inside the sphere, in a blank void, the children explain to Kaneda that they called Akira to them, and Akira is going to take Tetsuo away with them. The sphere suddenly and rapidly begins to shrink in size, creating an immense vacuum, pulling everything surrounding it inwards to fill the space that is now
And this is how black holes were made, like...
The Doctor is crushed by the vehicle he is in. Sometime later, it inwards to fill the space that is now gone. The Doctor is crushed by the vehicle
he wants to be Broly's dad so badly, man.
He is in. Sometime later, after the dust has settled, Kaneda is in the epicenter, having been safely transported there by the children, when a small orb of light falls down before him. He grasps it, holding it tight. Kei and Kaisuke find him and are glad to see that he is still alive. They all ride off into the now destroyed city. We fade to an abstract image which looks like an eye, and we hear,
I am Tetsuo.
Which alludes to him finally understanding his godlike powers and the place he has in his new universe.
Sure, bud. Yep. Nah, yeah, I don't know about that ending, man. I don't know about that ending, man.